operated. Well, they're telling you that eventually they can coax it along for a while.
Greed will always get them, right? You know, tough thing gets them every time.
Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Good.
Fantastic.
You made it.
Made it, yeah.
Traffic was.
I'll bet it was, we'll do.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Traffic's pretty busy out there. I had a planned
doing?
deal today, so it worked out good. I skipped all the really heavy traffic. I was okay. Going back, it won't be bad for me.
No.
Coming off, holy crap, I came off about 10:30.
Absolutely.
It was nutsy. Hi, Fred. How are you, dear? Good, it's good to see you.
I have 1 minute. It says right there in the bottom corner.
You do? He's over there.
This is great. Usually we're a very
And the pink.
talkative networking group.
Yes, it's weird. It's 2 o'clock.
I know, that's true.
It's not our usual
We're
time.
tired.
All out of whack.
All right, well, I've got 2 o'clock, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. If everyone could find their seats real quick. I'm gonna.
Okay, I'll hug you
All right, I'll call to order the Tourist Development Council meeting for Thursday, April 8th, 2021. Thanks, everybody, for having an afternoon meeting. Let's begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated, and please call the roll.
Commissioner Brian Hammond.
Here.
Fran Myers.
Here.
Rexanne Hossafrost.
Here.
Pamela Cronin. Tony Lappy.
Here.
Pauline DePasquale.
Here.
Bill Wachulis.
Here.
Brian Kramer. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on March 11th. Does anybody have any comments or additions or deletions to the minutes that they'd like to make? Okay, then seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion is from Fran Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Lappy. Do we have any further comments on that? Okay, seeing none, are there any objections? No objections, that motion carries unanimously. This is the time now for public to be heard. Could you raise your hand if anybody came to speak in public comment today? Okay, seeing none, then I'll move on from public comment. And are there any municipalities to be heard today? Okay, seeing none, we will move forward to the report of the Executive Director, Ms. Pygott.
All right. Thank you very much. Happy April. Hope everybody had a good Easter. Today we'll be sharing with you February data. For the month of February, bed tax collection was down 18.9% at $5.58 million. And I know we're probably all a little bit surprised to see that, significant of a down number. But I will remind you that when we shared with you the numbers last February, we were up 27.5%. in February, so this actually beats February 2019, but of course did not beat February of 2020, so I just want to share that today. That leaves us, for this point in the fiscal year, a little less than halfway through, down 11.7% at just under 19.6 million. And then in terms of the STAR report for February, occupancy came in at 69%, ADR 188.51, and RevPAR at 130.08. Each of those a pretty significant decline for the month. Looking at the vacation rental data from Key Data, occupancy came in at 76%, ADR 287, and RevPAR at 219. About half of the declines that you saw in the STAR report, overall RevPAR down about 10%. In terms of traffic at the airport, almost 726,000 people through the airport, down 41.5%. And then for the calendar year, 1.4 million, down 40.5%. The good news is February will be the last month that we report any down numbers for a while, because as we know, in March last year, our world changed with the pandemic, and so when we share with you March numbers, probably for the rest of this calendar year at least, I think we'll be seeing probably increases every single month as things, really, we took a big hit March, April, May of last year.
Would it behoove us to compare them to like 2019?
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know that it did till this point, but now I think we're at the point where we want to compare ourselves to 2019. And I know that's what I did with the key data when I shared it with you. I think it makes sense to start looking at how do things compare. Obviously we'll put year over year, but we'll also put, year over 2 years ago. So I agree, Bill. With that, I would like to ask Jill Vance to kick off the sales report, and she will be immediately followed by Stephanie Zinka, who will do the international portion of the sales report. Thank you, Jill.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Jill Vance, Director of Sales, and I'll be going over our sales activities. Just one moment, please.
Yeah, you have it right, they took it out. There was an 18 before. Those are the noises.
Yeah, come.
All right, we're back. So here are the results of the first 6 months of this fiscal year sales goals. And for the first goal, we are behind pace for the RFPs that we've sent our hotel partners, but I think it's important to note that in March, we sourced the most RFPs since February of 2020, which is before COVID shut everything down. And just to compare, the volume of leads just for March of 2021 not only surpassed last year for 2020, but was 75% of March 2019, which was a relatively strong year for us. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. We're also behind pace for the number of leads booked by our hotel partners, but I do remain optimistic that both of these numbers will pick up as more and more people get vaccinated, of course. We're in great shape for the next 3 goals. We have attained our annual goal for the amount of domestic and international travel professionals that we have hosted through virtual FAMs, and we're well ahead of pace for our wedding leads sent, and we've attained our goal for the number of virtual destination educations that we have held both domestically and internationally. Now, the last 2 goals are in reference to our meeting planner newsletter. We have just a little bit to go to reach our open rate goal, and we are ahead of pace for our newsletter signups on our website. Okay, meeting trends. Since RFPs are increasing, I thought it would be helpful to go over some of the most recent meeting trends in the market. As most of you know, outdoor spaces are in very high demand, and of course it's because the safety benefits of the natural air circulation. Also turning our road trip meetings, the drive market. Surveys have shown that meeting participants feel safer driving in their own cars than any other mode of transportation, which ties into hybrid meetings, which is where regional attendees will meet in person and those not within driving distance will attend the meeting virtually. That requires technology, not only equipment for live streaming, but higher bandwidth is a top need of meeting planners. Now, the next 5 trends are all related to the sales process. So planners are now showing optimism towards recovery, and one of those indicators I had just mentioned are the increase in the number of RFPs that the meeting planners are sending. And the last North Star Partner Pulse survey, which is a meeting planner sentiment survey, found that 81% of meeting planners will hold their next in-person event sometime this year in 2021. North Star thinks that we have turned a corner, and I hope they're right. Also, associations are leading the charge. One reason for this is the connections that people make at association events that are absolutely vital to the industries that they represent. And associations are not as risk averse or have the same liability concerns as the large corporations in the corporate market. Also, the compressed booking window. We all know that booking windows have shrunk significantly, so if a meeting needs to take place in the next 30 days, planners are often calling and booking on the very same phone call or the same Zoom call, which ties directly into the next trend of relationships. Even if through a screen, they are important, because planners are reaching out to CVBs and hotels that they know and trust, especially the ones who reached out and supported them when times were tough. And the last trend is flexibility, most importantly with contract language, like attrition clauses and cancellation clauses. Planners are looking for flexibility with rebooking clauses, group rate clauses, and even commissions. Okay, group media. I just want to show a couple examples of some of the marketing efforts last quarter for the group markets. Okay, meetings media. On the left is one of our dedicated emails running in ePro Direct. And then in the middle, I had the honor of being interviewed by Meetings Today for a podcast to meeting planners on health and wellness in our destination. And the podcast aired on March 1st and is available on the Meetings Today podcast app. And then on the right is another example of one of our custom content articles. And we've gotten a lot of mileage out of those this year. This is one from Meetings and Convention magazine. For travel trade media, on the left is a print advertorial in the family travel edition of Recommend magazine. And in the middle is one of our recent print ads, and on the end is an example of one of our digital native articles. Weddings media. Thank goodness the weddings market is still going strong. On the left is a dedicated email through Wedding Chicks, who are influencers for the weddings market. And then we also engaged with local photographers to purchase wedding shots. And in the middle, you can see a sample of some of those images that we got. And on the right is an example of one of our sponsored blog posts. And this one was even amplified on the influencer's social media. So here are some of the group sales team's activities for last quarter. Candace conducted a virtual faith-based planner FAM. We were targeting the Drive market, in which there were live feeds to 4 of our industry partners who showcased what they had to offer. And as you can see on the bottom, the Holiday Inn Airport Town Center, they got their whole staff involved, so they had a lot of fun with it. The pictures to the right give you a good idea of the different platforms for the virtual meeting planner shows that we're attending. On the top is Jerry's avatar, meeting with a meeting planner's avatar in their virtual trade show booth. And then on the bottom, Betsy is conducting an appointment on one of more like a Zoom style format. So they're really getting creative with these platforms, and people are having a lot of fun with them. Some travel trade activities for last quarter. Jen conducted 2 live virtual travel agent expos. One was for the weddings market, of which almost 1,100 travel agents attended. And the other one targeted family travel, of which almost 900 travel agents attended. And finally, upcoming activities, because the trade show environment is still changing, we continue to plan our virtual trade show schedule only 1 month in advance. So here are some of the virtual shows we will be attending for April and May. As you can see, we have several meeting planner appointment shows. And also, for travel trade, we'll conduct destination presentations for a Travel Pulse webinar, and then we'll also have virtual travel agent sales missions. Are there any questions before I turn it over to Stephanie Zinko, who will update you on our international activities?
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Good afternoon, Council, everyone. During this past quarter, our international teams and myself have been virtually at 12 trade shows and events throughout the different markets, 2 of the main ones being ITB in Germany and Unite in the United Kingdom, where combined we held 50 appointments, and I would like to take this moment to share some of those key takeaways from the meetings. In general, don't quote me on this, the outlook is positive for October onwards travel to the US from Europe. The US is currently in a slight advantage over other usual summer, late summer destinations within Europe, like sun and summer spots like Spain. obviously much better positioned compared to Asia or South America due to the favorable progress of vaccination here. Therefore, there is potential for the US as well as Florida, due to the open spaces, to gain some of that market share when travel resumes. A recent study published during ITB shows that 49% of Germans are actively planning to still travel in 2021. And the consumer spending priority ranks travel now number 2 with 60% right after food. Further, by 2030, 66% of all the travel bookings made, particularly in Germany, will be done online versus the traditional in-person. Now, that doesn't mean that the medium changes. So it'd still be through tour operators or travel agents or OTAs, but instead of doing that person one-on-one, it will be through their online channels. And this is definitely a trend that has grown quite dramatically through this pandemic. Especially for all the hotels in the room, everybody asked me to please share one wish, and this wish is rates. To have rates available, if possible, for 22 to 23. And the reason being is because a lot of people are now planning their big getaway for 2022 because they feel like that's 100% guaranteed that it will actually happen. And everybody is a little bit fatigued of having to postpone and rebook what has happened over the last 18 months. On that note, also good to know that the tour operators reported that 78% of them, what they're seeing is a upselling trend, meaning people choose a higher accommodation category. They travel in business class versus economy. They spend more on those bucket list items that they've been wanting to do, and also extend their lengths of stay. On that note, homes and self-catering units or resorts and hotels who have that availability are the preferred choice for travel, followed by small to mid-size hotels. We also hosted our first virtual UK show with 5 hotel partners. Some of you are in the room, so thanks to those of you who participated with us. On the first day, we included a destination masterclass as well as the 5 sessions. Each hotel had a one-on-one session to target and engage with 65 travel agents. And then there was also a live Q&A and some interactive quiz questions. On the other day, the same partners had the chance to meet one-on-one with key tour operators that the VCB organized the meetings and hosted those. The feedback was such that we've now looking at the opportunity to replicate this format and offer it to hotel partners for other markets. With regards to our training goals, which I mentioned last time, January and February were a bit slower in training numbers due to 2 things. In Canada, we had a lot of turmoil going on in the travel industry with newly imposed restrictions and trying to adjust to everything. And on the other hand, in Europe, there was actually a brief uptick in January and February with bookings. So those people who were working still at reduced work hours actually were too busy to partake in any trainings, which is a good problem to have. However, in March, you can see it right here, that big spike there for 135 that we had just in the UK. That was mostly due to the partnerships. Like previously, I mentioned the event that we did in the UK. We partnered with TTG, and that gave us great reach to get these numbers up. 80% of our total numbers with regards to training are usually due to those joint effort, which is why we give it high priority. And also, I want to point out that one of the goals of our webinars is obviously not only to engage the travel agents then and there, but further to drive them to our own training sites, which we have in the UK and Germany, to continuously stay engaged with them. With regards to that, in the UK, we've gained additional 75 current active users due to those activities. And in Germany, we finally breached the 1,000 user mark for our online training platform. Through some partnerships with other Florida destinations, we've also been active in some additional markets and training agents there. I mentioned this briefly in January when I spoke to you about a collaboration we were offered with Visit Florida, the Weather Network in Canada, and Air Canada. And I just want to report back on it now that it has aired. It aired early March. And since then, our designated 18-minute segment had 8.9 million impressions so far. And also we got some additional coverage through trade media like Travel Weekly. Speaking of Canada, there's two things I want to highlight in this quarter. Number one being, you've heard us mention this before, the Outdoor Adventure Show in Toronto and Montreal was probably our biggest consumer show that we do in Canada. Since it was canceled last year and there's no sign of resuming in 2021, we're now partnering with them in a new form, which is an interactive app, which launched late March, and it will allow us to potentially reach any of their 85,000 subscribers across all of Canada. And just for reference, as of last night, we had 700 engagements on that platform. And to put that in perspective, we used to distribute on those consumer shows in person over various days in Toronto about 500 Lonely Planet guides. So we just have an easier way of reaching that audience quicker. Also in Canada, very proud of this one, we finally kicked off our social media efforts on March 17th. We now have a fully dedicated, the Beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, Canada-focused profile page, which obviously has very dedicated Canada content. At the time being, because there was a lot of travel shaming over the last quarter in Canada, so we've taken a soft approach, and we're mostly inspirational at this point. But moving forward, when it's time to move into the next phase, we will get into a more engaging approach with specific groups, like the Snowbird Advisory Group, which is a very big group in Canada on Facebook, as well as incorporate call to action activities through trade partners and reach their followers. So next quarter, I will be able to present some numbers on this. If you remember earlier this year, I showed you the same map. There's been a few changes, or most importantly, I should say, there's been a shift in order of importance. I don't think it's to no surprise that the vaccination progress has been a key influencer in the consumer sentiment and booking behavior overseas. Not only how it's done in their own countries, but also how it is done in potential destinations, like the US. And this will also be kind of a key that we're going to look at when it comes to determine that most likeliness to travel to the US in 2021 ranking, and right now the UK is absolutely leading that poll. But one thing I want to point out, and that's travel conditions. This has been definitely number one concern for not only travelers, but also across the travel trade in Europe, based on a lot of the meetings that we've had over the last 2 months. So if, for example, a health vaccination passport became a travel requirement to the US, whether it be imposed for inbound into the US or imposed from a source market outbound to travel, what that would mean is in each market, as of right now, is completely different. For the UK, this would mean that as of June, potentially, any UK traveler could potentially travel to the United States because of the progress in vaccination and access to this passport. However, that same scenario for Germany would mean that the majority of the adults won't be vaccinated until the end of September. So therefore, they couldn't travel until earliest in October. And also in Germany, we're facing another little hurdle, which is there's a larger percentage of the population that is still, quote, undecided how they would feel if they had to disclose health and personal information as a requisite to travel. If you remember, in January, it had just been breaking news about the PCR testing requirements, and we all thought it would be a big setback for us. Well, the good news is PCR requirements are of little to no concern to anybody anymore. So it's very commonly accepted that you need a PCR test or negative PCR test to travel. And based on all of the above, we're monitoring everything very closely, and we adapt our plans almost bi-weekly at this point. We're speaking to consumers on two different levels. One, we've identified strategic partners in our core markets, and we're targeting their loyal customer base, people who have either been to Florida before, or they're now actively seeking a Florida destination or a sun or cruise segment. So we're targeting them. And on the other side, we're providing inspirational content and planning tips through different channels. Looking ahead, these are some of the planned activities for the next quarter or current quarter. One of the big ones is a podcast that we're working in to launch in Germany, multiple events in Canada, in addition to marketing co-ops, which are either ready to resume because they were paused due to COVID, or will newly launch with partners we strategically picked out for when the time is right. As of right now, which again, this may change on a daily or weekly basis, it looks like we're looking at early May to reactivate a more aggressive approach in the market, which would still then allow us to cover that planning/booking duration before the actual travel happens, hopefully late summer or fall. There will be some opportunities coming up for partners to participate, so if you are interested, either reach out and let me know or look into for an email that might come through in your inbox. And this is the end of my report, and unless there are any questions, I'm going to ask Simone to come up for her report.
Any questions for Stephanie?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Excellent report. Oh my gosh, such great information. Thank you. That was phenomenal.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, I'm not putting you on the spot, and this is just...
Oh, I love being put on the spot.
Okay, anyway, so two things. One, I heard when the new administration came in that there was a conversation about appointing a Secretary of Tourism, National Secretary of Tourism. Haven't heard anything further on that. I wonder if you had heard anything on that. And secondly, is the U.S. Department of Tourism, or whatever they call that, I don't even know what they call it.
Brand USA.
Yeah, thank you. You know, are they like buying into this and paying attention? And again, I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you happen to know if they are like paying attention to this optimism from Europe?
Yes. So two things. So obviously, Brand USA would be what we're doing for Lee County, but they're doing it for the entire United States. And we work with them very closely. And we have a couple of programs ready, kind of like in the gates, ready to go. We're all waiting for that right time. Now, you may ask, what is considered the right time? Right now, the industry, both here and in Europe, consider the right time once we have a date. So, for example, if our president, or in Europe, there would be a progress and they would announce and say, travel will be possible as of X date. This is what everybody is kind of looking for right now, that wait and see and have a precise date so that everything can reinitiate. So to your second part, yes, we're working with Brand USA. We're looking at the same things. We're sharing the information. And then on the second level, Visit Florida, similarly, they have identified a priority source market list, and ours are in perfect alignment with those markets. So we're in good shape. To that first question, I honestly do not have any updates. I don't know if Tam, do you have any intel?
Nope.
Insider information that
Not at this moment. I think,
TBD.
TBD, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's with bated breath on that conversation.
No problem. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
All right, as Simone walks up, I'm going to remind you, Simone has taken over our Visitor Services Department, so which we're thrilled with. Always nice to get to promote from within, and we're super happy to do that, Simone, into this position. So Simone's first Visitor Services update.
Yes, I know. Thank you. How lovely. It's wonderful to be here with you this afternoon. Thank you for the warm welcome. So Visitor Services, last year, most staff was assisting with Lee Cares, and in January we got the go-ahead to reopen our office at the airport, which made us extremely happy. County guidelines were for our volunteers to be fully vaccinated in order to be able to come back to volunteer with us, and I can tell you they embraced it. They made sure they got vaccinated. On February 1st, our first volunteer walked back through our doors, and more than half of our volunteers are fully vaccinated, are currently on the schedule. More and more are joining us every single week, so we're very happy to have them back. The airport community has welcomed them back with open arms. So thank you, Ben and Brian. It's been just so heartwarming to see it all. These are some of our numbers for January through March. You do see some visitor assistance numbers in January. That's when visitor services staff actually worked in the information booths during peak times. In February, the volunteers took over. So the total for the first quarter of 2021, we assisted 25,470 visitors. Volunteers worked 1,265 hours for a total value of $34,408. They handed out 4,680 travel guides. The top requests that we had during that time period in terms of accommodations, Holiday Inn Fort Myers Airport at Town Center, Pink Shell Beach Resort and Marina, Twin Waters Island Resort and Spa. For attractions, this is aside of obviously beaches and shopping, which are the top requests, or Jane Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge, the Edison and Fort Winter Estates, 6 Mile Cypress Sloop Reserve. For activities, the top ones were bike trails and cycling, parks, boat rentals, all the great outdoor stuff. Visitor services staff has been involved in community and partner support. Some of the highlights are we assisted at the vaccination site at RSW, mainly during January, but also in March. We've been attending ADA Advisory Council meetings. We had the wonderful opportunity to visit the new Home 2 Suites by Hilton on Colonial, as well as the new Holiday Inn Express and Suites at the airport, another brand new beautiful property. We attended bicycle and pedestrian committee meetings and anti-racism town hall meetings for the travel industry. For a look ahead, we're very happy to announce we will be hosting John Morris, and Brian Osowski already mentioned him at last month's TDC meeting. It'll be a hybrid event entitled The Business of Accessible Travel, Opportunities and Benefits, on June 24th at the Calusa Sound Convention Center and Amphitheater. You'll have the opportunity to either attend in person or attend virtually. We hope you'll all be able to join us because John Morris is a travel writer and an advocate, extremely knowledgeable, and it'll be a great opportunity for all of us to learn about accessible travel. We're also happy to announce that E-Awards will be held this year. It'll be the 21st Annual Elaine McLaughlin Outstanding Hospitality Service Awards on August 26th, and more details to come on that. That's it for me, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you, and otherwise I'll pass it on to Francesca. Thanks.
Thank you, Simone.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to just jump on in with a communications update. We have had a killer quarter. These numbers are big numbers, especially during COVID, and the way we do that is we get some really good journalists here. And I just want to emphasize, you know, we thought this year was going to be tough for us in this way, and it just hasn't been. I mean, just because many of them couldn't leave their homes didn't mean that they weren't wishing to be here and finding ways to write about us and getting out here. So we're really proud of that. And then this one makes me laugh because this is the column that we run in the news press. It's Tam's column, which Tam's column started as a little cider, and now it's a feature every other week. But if you notice our Southern Living, it's a cover of a cover on a cover. So that is a triple win right there, and something we've never done before. So I'm very proud of that, and all of the ways that we can educate the community about tourism. This is just a phenomenal piece of real estate that we get at the news press every other week. Top projects. There it is again. We can't stop talking about it. You all have a copy around the table. The reason, if you've been traveling, it's in the airports now, it's in the supermarkets. It's just really fun to walk by and see it. We're getting a lot of comments about it. It reaches 26 million people each month, and as you know, we were given that cover for being Sanibel for being best beach town, but also Cabbage Key was called out for being best stay. And I think that's just amazing opportunity for us. So that's that. This is also really exciting. Samantha Brown's Places to Love. She was here a few months ago, and now the episode is about to premiere. And we've partnered with WGCU and PBS to do a sneak peek. So it's free. It's April 23rd, but it goes out nationally April 24th. But on April 23rd, you can get onto WGCU website and you can make a reservation to be on this watch party, which you will be with Samantha Brown, who will answer some of your questions. And there's a couple hundred people, maybe 300 at this point, already signed up from around the world. So we're really excited about this episode. It's 30 minutes, and I have gotten a sneak peek of it, and it is amazing. So I can with full confidence, tell you that it's going to be a clapper. So please go to the watch party if you can.
Did you say it was 30 minutes long?
Yeah.
So it says 4:30 to 6 p.m.
Right, because then you're going to have questions. Then Samantha's on, and you can ask Samantha whatever you want. And so I think the show will be 4:30 to 5, and then 5 to 6 is, she has a huge fan base, and so they'll want to get on and ask questions about the destination and all sorts of stuff. So you can get on there and ask a question. And then again, we've had tremendous individual press trips. They're coming no matter what, and just here's a lot of people from the Outbound. We have the Globe Outdoor, the Globe president, Social Life magazine. They're coming. And then, of course, spring training was a little different this year, but it didn't stop them from coming as well. So I think that picture's kind of funny because the guy looks like he's finally gotten out of his house. He's like, well, I'm here. I'm at spring break. It's amazing. And big names like Boston Globe, Forbes, Condé Nast. So they're really excited to be here. This is fun, too, because it included some of you in this room. We have every year Minnesota Twins Radio Network and the VCB do a live radio from Twin Stadium. But this year they had to Zoom it because of COVID. So we had partners like Captain Brian on the Water, Florida Rep, Mound House, do Zoom with them. And it was really fun, and it went really far. 18 spring training broadcasts aired on 85 radio stations. So you are the best advocates for this destination. It was fun to get you on the radio. Shellcast, I hope you've been listening to that. The beach break for your ears. That is just dropped a recent episode about when I grow up, I want to be a manatee. Who doesn't? And coming up, we're going to do an episode on Dog Beach and Echo. But it's gotten very popular. It's in 12 countries, and it's wonderful. So if you haven't listened to it, please do. And then I told you about this recently, about the virtual book club. And so sometimes I tell you about something, and then I don't tell you, well, I forget, or I don't tell you what happened. So we had this great virtual book club, and then we had over 1.5 million impressions just from one journalist that was in that Zoom club to discuss Sanibel and a local Sanibel author. So that's really fun. And I just wanted you to see what happens, the projects that we do. And then upcoming, we've got a fan here right now, and what's fun about it is that we thought maybe 2 journalists would come, 3 journalists would come, 9 journalists came, and big journalists. In fact, I drove here this morning from the islands, from Captiva and Sanibel, and I was thinking, is there a marathon? Because I've never seen so many people running. It was so bustling and full, and you could just see people want out. So that was really fun to see. And then, as you know, we celebrate National Travel and Tourism Week, and we usually do that in person at Lakes Park. But this year we're going to do it virtually, which is actually going to be really fun because we're going to do special videos that will not only educate the community about the power of tourism, but celebrate our employees who make that magic happen. So stay tuned for more information about that, but we've got a whole team working on ways to celebrate Travel and Tourism Week. And then we've been participating in the Tarpon Tournament the past few years with Ding Darling. Our team's name this year is Hooked on Tarpon. We have 2 really good journalists who are also anglers. One's from Outside Magazine, another from Wide Open Spaces. So they'll be in their neon yellow, Hooked on Tarpon, and we hope they win. So we'll cross our fingers. And then the reason that I just also want to mention tarpon tournaments is because tarpon was the very beginning of the history of Southwest Florida, why tourism happened. And so we like to participate in that sort of a historical tarpon experience from way back when. And then lastly, Raw Travel Season 7, we talked to you about when that happened, but we got a twofer. So they had so much good film and video from their experience that they are incorporating another segment, which is free, into season 8 called Side Tripping the USA. So that will air May 22nd, 23rd, July 31st, August 1st, and we'll tell you more about that as it closes in. But overall, we have just been having a tremendous time. People are ready to come. They're ready to write about us. They actually haven't stopped, but the exuberance and the smiles when we get them out here, it's really special. So that is all I have.
Thank you, Francesca. Does anybody have any questions for her? All right, if not, we'll have Nancy come up and give us an update on the Beach and Shoreline program.
Good afternoon. It's so good to see you. It's been 2 years since I've been able to update you on Beach and Shoreline. Basically, what we like to do in April is give you a look back on previously funded projects so you can see how they're coming along. And then at the end of my presentation, I'll be reminding you of your next role in future funding requests. So just as a reminder, the program purpose, prioritize the funding for beach and shoreline. Shoreline renourishment, restoration, and erosion control is usually your #1 priority, followed by beach maintenance and emergency beach cleanup. And then we also have capital improvement projects that we fund. 26.4% of the tourist tax collected in Lee County goes to the beach and shoreline program. So I'm going to give you a recap on each one of those priority categories. First, we're going to just show you that since fiscal year 2000, you've allocated $153.4 million to beach and shoreline, the bulk of it going to maintenance, taking care of all those beach park facilities that our tourism partners help us manage. We want to talk first about your #1 priority, beach nourishment, and I'm going to have Steve Boutel, who's with Lee County Natural Resources, help me with this part of the presentation because he's the guy that manages the Beach Renourishment Trust Fund, which is so very important to all of our partners. The total allocation for beach nourishment to date is $38.9 million, and this year you funded $2.3 million to those agencies listed below, the bulk of it going to Steve and the Beach Renourishment Trust Fund. Captiva has an upcoming project that they're preparing for, as well as Fort Myers Beach, and both Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach do monitoring year-round, and that's what Steve's going to fill you in on now.
Thanks, Nancy. And thank you for giving me a few minutes here just to give you a brief update of what's been going on with beach nourishment. And we want to start out by a little coastal engineering 101, not to get too deep in the sand here, but sand is not supposed to stay on the beach where you put it. Okay, it doesn't, it's not supposed to, and so in order for us to plan good projects, we need to know when, how much and where to put that sand. We have to know where it is and where it's going. So on an annual basis, we will monitor their beach project areas, and this is just one example of how that works. So on the left, you'll see, you'll recognize the south end of Fort Myers Beach, Lover's Key, and down through Bonita Beach. This is one of our project areas. So in 2019, on the left, we went in and monitored the colors there, give you a sense of how deep it is, how deep the sand is, how deep the water is. We go in and replicate that in the middle panel on 2020. And then on the right, the color codes will give you a sense that we can subtract those two and get an idea of where is it changing. So the warmer colors with the reds and the oranges and the yellow, that means right there, it's actually accreting sand. There's more sand than there was the year before. The cooler colors with the blues, that means we're having erosion. And so if you focus right on there, Lover's Key, that's our project area, it's all blue, confirming that's why we're in the process of working on that for one of our next projects. Coastal Engineering Lesson 2, that sand doesn't move, and one of the primary drivers that moves it around are these inlets or passes where the water moves in between the bays and the Gulf of Mexico. That can have a huge influence on where that sand is going and how much. We're in the process right now of doing a study of this entire area that will take a long-term look at how much sand is moving where, how quickly, help us define a sand budget, which will give us a better proactive view as to what the projects might look like in this area. It will also help us understand our sand resources, because lesson 3, good projects need good sand. The Lover's Key project used to get its sand all over there on the right. You see that cluster of red dots that I'm circling there. That's where the sand came from the prior times we did nourishment on Lover's Key and Bonita Beach. The good sand's all been used up there, so we are doing a sand study right now, anticipating how much sand we'll need for 50 years. We went out and did a lot of prospecting in the Gulf of Mexico. Each of those color blocks gives you a sense of where we looked. Right now, it looks like our very best sand is going to be out here on the far left in this area. More than enough sand for what we anticipate we would need for the next 50 years, and it's gorgeous. So we're moving forward with the permitting on that in anticipation of our Lover's Key and Bonita Beach projects coming up in '22. Last time we were here, we were telling you we were just getting ready to start a project up in Gasparilla, Boca Grande. And so moving up there now to catch you up a little bit on how that went. This is 5th Street, where you did a dune walkover that comes out from the parking area right by the Gasparilla Inn, looking to the north. And that was before the project that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers. And now just an aerial view, that's that same dock right there where the water was washing up. This is what it looked like after that project was finished. The other thing to remind you about here, because that's a federal project, we spent years working with the Army Corps of Engineers to get that authorized. The erosion that happened in that prior picture here was caused by a storm event. That means as a federal project, they pay to repair those storm damages. So this work that was done there was 100% federal cost. While they were in the area, we were able to convince them to take a look at the Gasparilla Island State Park, south end of the island, now at Belcher Road, looking to the south. You'll recognize the lighthouse right there, and obviously that's a pretty eroded condition on the beach. We were able to convince them to do a local addition on that, and this is what that beach looked like from the air. Same thing, that last picture was taken from about here, look in that direction, and so that obviously improved the beach there for the state park as well. This one, we were able to get 100% reimbursement from the state of Florida with a grant from the DEP because it was a state park. So we had about almost $5 million worth of work that was done up here by the Army Corps, completely reimbursed by those outside sources. But part of that worked because we had local resources to initiate it and get it started on the front end and then get those reimbursements. Without that trust fund in place, it wouldn't happen. And a much smaller scale, but also important, you might recall, Hurricane and/or Tropical Storm Eta, depending on how you want to play that one, took a little spin around in the Gulf of Mexico last November. And while it wasn't a direct impact to us, you can see this is Lynn Hall Park on Fort Myers Beach, and that was the condition post-Eta. Not ideal coming up into season. The state of Florida passed an emergency order, and again, we were able to use the resources in the trust fund, take advantage of that, and working with the commission and administration and parks and DEP, within about 6 weeks, we were able to get in some trucks there. We had 258 truckloads of sand that came in, 5,700 tons, and we were able to get that done, like I said, in about 6 weeks, so that the week before Christmas, we were able to get that beach back and in a condition that was much more enjoyable for the season, and it will give us a little bit of a Band-Aid that should hold in place there while the town of Fort Myers Beach is working on the next upcoming larger scale project for that area. So that's just a few of the highlights. I appreciate the time, and as always, if anybody's got questions and want to dig in deeper on the sand, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you, Steve.
Questions before we lose Steve? Because I can't answer them. He's a great resource, and we really appreciate all the hard work his team does for our beaches. So I'm going to jump to maintenance. This is 50% of all the funding that you've allocated over the years has gone to maintenance projects, $79.8 million. Fiscal year 21, our current year, you allocated $7.8 million to those agencies listed. And most of them are using the maintenance funds for the day-to-day operation of their beach park facilities, paying staff, equipment, ADA accessibility issues they're dealing with, emergency beach cleanup. Luckily, we have not had to use any of it for emergency beach cleanup yet this year. Capital projects,
So last year, you'll remember, we were unable, due to budget, to fund any capital projects for current year. But overall, since 2000, you've funded $28 million, and this list shows some of the projects that were complete during 2020. Our partners continued to work hard during the pandemic to finish their capital projects. We had 2 restroom projects, Cayo Costa, Tarpon Bay, complete in the last year and a half since I've spoken with you. Lynn Hall Park Boardwalk and dune improvements, and this project Steve just mentioned is an example. This boardwalk and dune improvement project was done last summer, was in jeopardy if they had not put sand in front of it to protect it again. The Matanzas Pass Preserve Boardwalk, after a very long wait, was complete, and this is a picture of the ADA accessible kayak landing and the pier on Matanzas Pass. This is an important point along the Calusa Blueway where you can pull up while paddling and get out, stretch your legs, and enjoy the park, visit Bay Oaks, go into town. And then, of course, the Matlacha Park Pier Repair Project. That was another one that took a long time, but they are all complete and have come off your status document. So there is a status document in your packet, and that I rely on our partners to update me quarterly on progress with their projects. So that status report will tell you what's going on with the rest of the previously funded projects. I did want to call out one more project that's just about done. It should open this month. In fiscal year 19, you allocated $87,000 to the Lover's Key Discovery Center. Now, what you funded in that, not necessarily the building, you funded an example of it on the right, were exhibits that narrate the importance of the coastal zone, the ecosystem along the beach, to educate our visitors on the importance of leaving no trace and taking care of what we've got. This exhibit happens to feature the whole complex of Lover's Key. There's actually 4 barrier islands within the complex, and park staff attributes the renourishment program, the dedication of the TDC over the years for putting sand and keeping sand on Lover's Key to these islands not accreting and not eroding, and being able to have a structure like this put on it. Lover's Key is the 2nd most visited state park in the state of Florida. The TDC has long allocated funding to it. When we merged from a county park to a state into one big park, back in the 90s, you were involved with that. So it's really great to see them get a facility of this magnitude, and they are so appreciative. So again, that Discovery Center was partially funded on behalf of their friends group, Folks. They did a great job raising funds for that. And again, you can go see it the end of this month. I think it opens. So I'm going to click through and show you an aerial shot of it. I'm not going to let it play all the way through, but this will show you what it looks like from the air and its proximity to the beach. Visitors can arrive and park in the, you can stop it. Do I have to stop? Thank you. They arrive here in the overflow parking lot, and they're forced to actually walk underneath the building, which, as you saw, has these mangrove-looking pedestals holding it up. And so it's really kind of a pinch point, and visitors will be able to experience the interpretive exhibits. It's a fantastic venue for events, and they programs and have an indoor space to do it, whereas they did not have that before. So you had a small part in putting this structure together, so they're very appreciative. Finally, to wrap it up, just speaking of next fiscal year, we've been working very hard since January on the request. We got 25 eligible requests for funding for next fiscal year. I want to thank Steve for assisting, as well as County Attorney Andrea Frazier, in determining eligibility and feasibility. The Coastal Advisory Council has reviewed the requests, and their comments are also in the Dropbox link that you can find at leavecb.com. So it's 10.7 that's been requested, and we're lucky to have a projection of about $10.3 million available. So it won't be as challenging as last year. You had a hard time last year, I know, but we would appreciate your review of the materials. Again, the list of project requests is in your packet along with the status report. The eligibility determination spreadsheet from CAC and from the county attorney is in the Dropbox link, as well as a snapshot of what some of the agencies think they'll need in future years. So that should help you in your determining. So we meet again here for the Beach and Shoreline Review Workshop on April 22nd. That day you'll discuss and make recommendations, and then you'll approve them at your May meeting for next fiscal year. So that's my update. Unless you have any questions, I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
If you don't mind, sorry.
Of course.
I just did a cursory glance at, thank you very much for dropping that. I appreciate that. Cursory, I saw very little in eligibility. I didn't see any project that was totally in it.
There were two.
Oh, there
There
were.
was
Oh, okay.
27 total requests, and I just mentioned 25 are eligible. There were
Okay.
2 requests that were ineligible based on them being more perhaps of a marketing slant.
Okay.
So I've been talking to them about perhaps looking at
Going to-
the attractions marketing programs, so.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I have one other thing to share with you today. We have a new staff member that I'd like to introduce. Maura Larkin is our new Visitor Services Coordinator. Maura, you want to wave to him or stand up for a second? So some of you may remember Maura because she was our intern a few years back, but Maura will be working with the Visitor Services team. And of course, in addition to the recruitment, training, and supervision of our volunteers at the airport, she will also play an integral role in producing VCB special events, which our Visitor Services team leads. She most recently served as a fundraising manager for the David Lawrence Center for Behavioral Health down in Naples, managing fundraising, recognition, and community events. So she comes to us with lots of events experience. She was a student at FGCU when she interned with us and did earn her bachelor's degree in resort and hospitality management. And in addition to serving as an intern with us, she also volunteered in visitor services as part of her program at FGCU. So she has actually spent some time out there in that program, and we are thrilled to have her. Of course, she is also a CGSP graduate, so we've got a really high-quality new staff member that we're really proud to introduce to you again today. So welcome back, Maura. And with that, sir, my presentation is done. I know it was long.
Very good. Well, do you have any for council information as well?
I believe we put a copy of the most recent consumer sentiment research in your packet. Since we had such a long report, we weren't going to do a presentation on that, but it is in your packet for your review.
Any notable changes in that at all?
Definitely increase in consumers interested in traveling. I think we've been seeing that over time, but it is clear that the vaccination rollout is definitely making people more interested in travel. 4 in 5 of our respondents expressed an interest in traveling in the next few months, so that is very good news for us since they're from our key markets.
And people still feeling safe when they do visit here?
Correct.
Very good. All right, great. At this time, we'll move to TDC member items. Let's start with Pam Cronin down there at the end. Anything that you want to make us aware of?
Well, I have a shameless self-marketing thing.
Good, we love those.
Yes, this is a really fun one. We had a baby sloth born in our nature park, and it's so exciting because the vets and Fish and Wildlife and everybody are saying it's very unusual for a small park to ever have a live birth like this because it's very difficult, and it means that the animals are very comfortable in their home, and it's wonderful. So I am so excited about this. We haven't even announced it to the media yet or anything, and he's about 6 weeks. I hope it's a he. It's about 5 or 6 weeks old. We won't know for a couple of months what it is, and I hope it's a he because I want to name him Sheldon. So anyway, so that's. Well, Shelley's good too, but she's my little mascot, so yeah, so Shelley's good too. But anyway, so that's my little shameless tad bit of information, but I'm so excited that our industry is thriving and optimistic and happy, and congratulations to our hoteliers for working so hard and being so successful because you're helping all of us so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. That's very big news. Councilwoman Hassefrost, anything for us?
Yeah, I
I would like to kind of update everybody a little bit on Estero Boulevard. It's a project that the town did in conjunction with the county, for which we are very grateful. And everybody thinks road projects are kind of boring, but it's part of this road project. We put in bike paths and sidewalks. And I can tell you, this is a perfect example of if you build it, they will come. Our bike paths and sidewalks are already crowded all of the time. As soon as we open a new section, people are out there on it. So I'm hoping that that's actually going to help with the traffic problem. People may not get in their cars as often because we've got those beautiful wide sidewalks and bike paths. So thank you to the county for their cooperation with us, and come and visit. It's almost completed. We're down to the very end of the south end of the island. Come and look at our new road and sidewalks. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much for sharing that too. It's one that we're really proud of partnering with you all on, because I know we took care of a lot of public works along with not only that, but the roadway. It's crazy because right when I got on the commission over 7 years ago, it was like I've been here right around 7.5 years now, we were talking about starting that. And you know, the consternation was how long it was going to take, and I can't believe we're here to see it's finished, and it's almost finished and looking great. So thank you very much for mentioning that. Mr. Kramer, anything for us?
I want to apologize for being a little late, but
oh, no worries.
The reason I was late is because we were just so busy at the hotel. So,
great.
So, April 21st, a reminder, we have our Florida Restaurant Lodging Association luncheon at the Holiday Inn in Fort Myers, and our guest speaker is Catherine Curtis from FGCU, the new head of the hospitality program there. So come hear what she has to say and the direction that the school is going to be taking moving forward. So join us there. You can get information at the FRLA website, Lee County, and there's a link to be able to get your tickets to come.
Very good. Mr. Kramer, thank you very much. Hey, quick question while I've got you. Any update on how things are looking business-wise at your resort there? Are bookings going to be strong? I know, talking with Ben at the airport, it seems like the airlines are loading us up with seats.
Yeah, it's been incredibly busy the last few weeks for us at the resort, much busier than we would ever anticipate, and actually from a transient leisure standpoint, better than it had been in years past prior to COVID. The difference for us is we also rely on the group business too to keep us whole because of the banquet business that produces, and that just isn't back yet, and we're not anticipating that back until a little later in the year. But the transient business has been making up a significant chunk of that loss.
Good.
And so it's, you know, you got to take what you've got and appreciate it, and I think the future through the summer is going to be fairly strong for all of us in the hospitality industry here. It's showing no real signs of slowing down too much just yet.
Good. Thanks for the good.
I was a betting man. I would bet this May will be the best May that we've ever had.
Really?
You're going to see hotels at 90% occupancies for the month of May, which we've never seen on the beaches. Usually it's 75%, so we're probably not going to get a break until August, September. So.
Aww.
Kids go back to school.
You guys got a little break last year, so.
You know, I'll add a tiny bit. The last 3 weeks, the Star Report has been, you know, I think the lowest in the 3 weeks was 84.6 or something like that. So that's not quite as high as we were 2 years ago this time, but almost. I mean, very, very close to on par with normal, you know, a normal year, so to speak, whatever that is.
Just as an anecdote too, with German travel, for example, we monitor our traffic and where it comes from, and we're getting hits on our website. A ton of people in the UK and in Germany that are searching. They're not booking, but they're searching, and we think they're doing their virtual dreaming of where they want to come and when they want to come as soon as they can come. So it's a positive sign, and we have a lot of annualized customers that come back year after year for the last 15 years from Germany and from the UK, and I'm starting to get notes from them now saying, Brian, we're planning our next trip. We look forward to it. So you can kind of feel it coming.
That's great news. Glad to hear it. Very good. Fran, anything?
Well, first of all, I apologize for not being here several months, but my kids wouldn't let me out of the house. And I've had my 2 shots now, so I'm good to go, I guess. But anyhow, I would echo what all the gentlemen said, and Rexan too. Our resort, I can't even tell you. You can't even buy an RV, probably in Lee County now, or up north, and we're way ahead of 2019. And we're booked all the way through probably September. I can't find employees. If anybody has any employees, please send them to me.
What's the other thing I was going to bring up is that if you haven't wrote our legislator, you need to, because the unemployment right now is working completely against the state of Florida in hospitality.
Yeah.
It is horrible right now, and it's causing a challenge. When I say a break, it's because, you know, I've got managers cleaning rooms, I mean, it's just, everybody's all hands on deck right now, and it's...
Honey, I'm bussing tables.
Exactly. But the challenge is that right now without unemployment, you could make potentially more money just staying home.
Yeah.
And we're all looking for we all have open positions.
Well, we've created, there's all new challenges that have been created because when our industry virtually stopped, all production of everything that services this industry stopped. So, you know, people that produce linens, people that launder linens, all these companies that support the hospitality industry shut down as well. And so now they're all trying to ramp back up, and they can't find the staff. So they can't get us the stuff that we need fast enough. Food production is down, and just ordering supplies is a challenge right now.
Wow.
So it's a challenge of staff, supply, and I think we're going to trickle through this over the course of the next few months until people get ramped back up and are able to be back at full capacity. But they can't find the staff either, and so we're getting hit from two angles, from our own staffing and from our supplier staffing.
And to back you all up, I mean, I am hearing it from the podiatrist that I sat next to at Rotary who says he can't hire people for his office, from my dad who's an electrician in town who can't find anybody to work for him, and you all too. So it just seems like there is in Florida, a real opportunity there for people to come work if they want to, and that is a challenge that we need to be vocal with our legislators about so that we can get that corrected. So thank you very much, Fran, for the good news. Anything else you got going on out there? No? Very good, very good. Glenn, anything you want to update us on legislatively? Anything we should be aware of?
Well, certainly we could talk about the the tourist development tax bill that was a speaker priority. I would say that is most likely dead. It got temporarily postponed on the Senate side in its first committee of reference. That's usually a sign that it's in trouble. Pair that with the fact that they're now using the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for resiliency and flood mitigation, which they wanted to use tourist development tax funding for. I think that's probably the substitute that they've arrived at. So, you know, it's looking like that bill may not go anywhere now. It sailed through the House, of course, but on the Senate side, it's looking in big trouble.
And Visit Florida is in good shape thus far through the budget. For those who are asking about it, Bill, you might give us that update anyway, but just so people know.
Very good. Counselor, anything you want to add? No? Okay. Colleen, you got anything for us?
To add to the tourist development tax, my understanding is that it would have to go probably into the tax, into like a tax code or something at the legislative level in order to go anywhere, and that there isn't a lot of support for that for this year, so that's the good news, yeah. So, but we keep an eye on it, and we'll certainly get loud if we need to, but don't know that we need to. It literally just stopped dead in the Senate at the very first committee meeting. I was like, wow, those are the most boring things in the entire world, I will share, because I listened to them. So just to make sure, but that's very interesting. But I wonder, and this is a crazy idea, and it's probably not the place to, but what if we reached out to a state that isn't busy and brought those people, you know, we've got dorm rooms that are like, we have colleges with dorms that aren't full. I don't know, everything I'm hearing are about people who can't find staff.
Right.
Every industry, but in particular, you guys are going to run 90%, you're going to clean. Like, how long do you do this for 6 months? They won't, I don't know. Like, what do we do? Like, I don't know if we just talk, like we just say it here and then let it go, or is there something to do? There are states that have people who are not working and won't go back to work because they're either out of season, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm just throwing, I don't know that we let this go. Am I being idealistic? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great point, because I've wondered that, and I've thought about this a lot, because it is something I'm hearing from everybody, and I wondered if it's something that, if there was a business out there that had the means and the ability and could figure it out from a business case scenario, could I reach out to people in another state that are hurting that, you know, where they don't have the jobs. And then where do you house those folks? How do you get them here? That kind of stuff. How do you incentivize them to move here? And then I guess the thing is if you do invest all that money to get that employee, you'd probably get a return if you can keep that employee long enough. How do you make sure that that employee stays with you long enough too? So, I mean, if somebody can figure out that equation, let me know, because I think that's
There's a traveling nurses program.
Yeah.
They come here for season, because I met one over the weekend, and she's like, she comes for season. She's already coming back next year because she loves being here, but she doesn't live here.
Yeah, are there traveling hospitality?
There are, you know,
I have the good fortune to be able to.
Tony, didn't you used to have a lot, it doesn't happen anymore, hasn't happened, I don't think, in the last 7 or 8 years, maybe longer, but we used to have people who would like lived in Rhode Island or, you know, the places in New York that I don't know the names of, and they would come here and they would work 3 or 4 months in the season and then they would go back. I think part of the problem with that's not happening now, because we used to hire them seasonally and it was perfect for us, is that they didn't have the jobs up there, so they can't afford to come down here now. So yes, it's brilliant. I love it. Colleen's a brilliant idea. But the problem is, like, how do you get them here? And then as soon as everything opens up back there, they are headed back because it's great money and that's home, you know. So, but yeah, years ago, I remember like having seasonal staff was so easy for us in the store and the restaurant. And, but it just really hasn't happened in several years, and particularly now, because I think it's an affordability issue.
I think for us,
I have the fortune to be able to bring in people from other Hyatts that are closed around the country, but I get them at the management level. At the line level, you can't get them because they don't want to.
Okay.
They're making good money at home.
Okay.
And they don't want to move to Florida where they have to actually come back to work to make that money. So that's I think the bigger issue that we're starting to face.
And Pam, I was just going to add, you know, I think that happened when we were more seasonal. If you look at our visitation now, it's more like this. It's not this. It's a little tiny dip in the summer, and it's just not, you're not letting enough people go to justify people doing that, you know, back and forth thing anymore.
Not only that we had 3 strong months. I mean, it was, you know, January, February, March, or second week in January to the second week in April, you know, and they were strong. I mean, people would come in and you could, you know, especially in, you know, restaurants, that they could make as much money as they did, you know, in the summer months, you know, up north. And a lot of those people only worked 6 months a year, 3 months there, 3 months here, and, you know, it was golden. So, yes, I think all those trends are what's, yes, thank you, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I think it's a little different.
I'll put this out there. If any of you can think of any ideas or any next step that your county commission can do to support that, please let me know, reach out to me, because, I mean, it is, like I said, I'm hearing it every single place I go now from every employer that, and so we want to support you all, however, you know, whatever role is appropriate for your local government to support you all in that. And it sounds like, you know, the federal government tried to fix things, but they kind of gave us an unintended consequence there. So, yeah. Thanks. Bill, you got anything?
Just to piggyback on Brian's comment about shortage, according to the Wall Street Journal, ketchup is the next. There's going to be a shortage of ketchup. So if you're low on ketchup at home, get out to Publix and get some ketchup.
Why?
Because of all of the packets of to-go are happening, it's caused a shortage in the ketchup production now.
Interesting.
So there's my advice. If you're short on ketchup, get some ketchup.
My chef right now.
Yes.
It's not hard to make ketchup. Is that true?
Hand them a tomato and say, make your own.
You can. It's not hard.
I got plenty of tomatoes.
Mr. Lappy, you got anything for us?
Good, too.
No, nothing much. It's a great week to watch the Masters. That's what I'm going to be doing.
There you go.
Weekend. It's good stuff to kick off spring, and I think everybody who is here is having a blast. We're having a lot of first-time visitors that are just enjoying the heck out of things, the beaches and the great weather we're having. So it's good times. Just like you said, if we could just get the line help. You know, I got my chef, he's helping washing dishes and everything else. So it's a crazy time. I have never really been through this kind of thing for this long a period. So it'll be testy.
Well, good. Well, we know those first-time visitors will become repeat visitors if history holds, so we're glad to hear that. Very good. Well, then that concludes everything. I guess if there's nothing else for the good of the order, then we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you, folks.
We adjourn.
Tony, you take care.
You too, Bill.
Don't wash too many dishes or...
Yeah, it's just amazing. You know, used to